Join us and see what life looks like from a medium's perspective. With Tracey Lockwood, the medium's medium. We'll explore the tools of psychic development, hear stories and experiences from the other side, and learn to listen to our natural intuition. Now, our host, Tracey Lockwood.
Hello, beautiful lights, and welcome to another episode of From a Medium's Perspective. I am so tickled to have my guest with me today. And before I get started and introduce her, I just wanted to remind you that if you're interested in taking a private session with me, as in a reading, or if you're interested in developing your abilities, I offer private psychic mediumship tutoring, including a 3-tiered mediumship course, beginner, intermediate, and advanced, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 6 weeks. And I offer a certification, a psychic mediumship professional level certification with 3 levels of certification. So no matter what level you are, you'll come out of the thing if you complete all your stuff with one certification or another, dependent on your abilities. And I teach channeling a couple of times a year. And if you want more details, you can find it on my website at mediumtraceylockwood.com. Well, we've switched to a video format, and so I know you can already see the guests. That's like cheating. And so I'm going to introduce her. I met her because she was offering an event in the Roanoke, Virginia, Salem, Virginia area, and I was really intrigued by what she did, and so I asked her to come on the show. And she does an interesting modality that I had not actually heard of. Some of you out there will be like, duh, Tracey, it's always been there, but I didn't know about it. And she is an access consciousness bars facilitator. And I was like, what is that? Access consciousness bars, because I teach, altered states and channeling and that kind of stuff, but I have never heard of this creature. And so she also is we're dumbing this down for the air here, a certified effing miracle worker, which we'll ask her about that too, because that's just genius. And she does all kinds of workshops and works personally with people. She's an amazing person, and I'm happy to have her on the show. And her name is Julie Lohr. Welcome to the show, Julie.
Thank you so much, Tracey. How did I get so lucky to be here today?
Because you're fabulous. So I wanted, for those of you that would like to snoop around and spy on Julie, to have her website while we're there, just in case you're like, oh, I'm going to check that out. Julie, go ahead and give them the website that you would prefer. There.
You can contact me at, on the website is www.accessconsciousness.com/Julie Lohr.
And Lohr is Lohr, Julie Lohr. So accessconsciousness.com/Julie Lohr. Awesome. Well, Julie, I'm so happy you're here. And as you know, I started this show to give people a look-see at what the world of alternative practice and expanded consciousness and all that stuff is. And one of the questions, because of the title of the show, From a Medium's Perspective, is to ask people how what they do has changed their perspective on their lives. So could you tell me what that's done for you in practicing this modality?
Well, I have always been a seeker, and I've always known that there was more than this reality. And the tools of access consciousness have really allowed me to access that, what else is truly possible, and to go beyond my own limitations and the limitations of this reality.
She just says that. Go beyond my limitations and the limitations of this reality. Yes. Yes,
I mean,
that is what it's all about. That is exactly what's it about. And that's because there's so much more to us than our physical being. And
infinite.
yes, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. And so I guess before we get into our main topic here today, why do you say effing certifiable effing miracle worker? Tell me what that is.
In Access Consciousness, we do have several levels that you go through of certifications. And you start out as a bars practitioner. And then once you've taken several classes, you become a facilitator, and you can actually facilitate the bars classes and
Which
certify
is one thing you do.
And then there are other levels of classes. You take the foundation class, and that is just really like, it's mind-blowing. Like it tears apart your reality. I mean, that sounds I could put it nice.
It blows the roof off of it. It does. Get
rid of the constructs that you have, that you've been put into a box, and it's just like, and really like all of your reference points are gone. And which is interesting. And then there are other classes that you take, the energetic synthesis of being, which is an amazing energy class, and then the choice of possibilities. So there are just levels that you go up, and once you get through the choice of possibilities, you become a CFMW. And honestly, when I saw that title, I was like, I don't know what that is, but I'm putting that on my business card.
That's right. That's right. And that's really cool. That's really cool. And I always think the universe has a sense of humor.
Yeah.
If we, you notice like sages, like the Dalai Lama and the Babas and of the world, they always have always have that underlying sense of benevolent humor that goes with it. I had an occurrence where I physically met Jesus. I've talked about it in other episodes in my 20s. And there was this look in his eyes like, how could you possibly wonder whether or not it's going to be okay? Of course it's going to be okay. And there was that undertone of amusement. And I find that actually very appropriate for for elevated study and experiential things in spirit. I think that's kind of cool.
One of my energetic priorities is magic and miracles, and to be magic walking, that we are such infinite beings, and we truly are capable of so much more than we, truly allow ourselves. And, like you said, that it's all going to be okay. Like, I know that the universe has my back. I know that everything is okay. It's the limitations of this reality of what we can and can't do, and what's right and wrong, that makes us think that we can't.
Absolutely.
And so it's that, and really, like, going through those classes can be like, you really do like peel away layers of lifetimes. This isn't our first rodeo. Like, we've been around.
Oh yeah.
Years, and
yes.
Let's giddy up again. And for trillions of years, we've been and done everything, and so much has been impelled upon us, or points of views or situations that we've been through, and it gets locked into our bodies. And you go through those classes, and you really change.
Yeah.
It's like, heck yeah, I do, believe I'm a miracle worker. And, you mentioned Jesus, like, a lot of it, people can think like, oh, it's, this stuff is woo-woo, but like with the bars, it is a process of laying on of hands,
Yeah.
and Jesus was a great healer, and he touched them.
One of many. Yes. Yes.
So it's like, and are we not called to be greater than him, and to do greater
That's
things?
right. Yeah, these things and greater shall you do. It's in there.
Yeah.
Desire the best gifts. That's why, I think that the Bible supports mediumship, because it talks about desire the best gifts. And one of the gifts is discerning of spirits. What you think that is,
And speaking of the Bible, one of the best things that's hidden in the Bible is ask and receive.
Yes. Oh, great. And all spiritual texts, regardless of where they come from, dark and light, all hold spiritual principles. They all, of course, I advocate for those of the light, but, there are spiritual principles that are sort of the laws of the universe. Gravity is something, whether you believe in it or not, is going to affect you if you step off the top of that, building or dock or whatever you do. And, electricity has its own laws, and the universe has its own laws too. And those principles affect us whether we're aware of them or not. Yeah, absolutely. So I want to ask you to explain a little bit about access consciousness. Like, I love that name, and that's one of the things that really intrigued me. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, access consciousness is a set of tools and processes that are meant to facilitate more consciousness for everyone. And consciousness is the acceptance of everything and the judgment of nothing. And couldn't the world use a lot more of that right now?
Oh, yeah.
There's so much of what is right and what is wrong and what is good and what is bad. And, consciousness is being present in every moment of your life and being an acceptance of that and of everyone around you and of the world. And as you said, everything is okay.
Yeah, everything gonna be fine.
Everything's
Everything gonna be
just
fine.
fine.
Right.
So that is basically, what access consciousness is. There's so many tools and processes, and one of our favorite things is to be in the question. And when you're really answering that question, you're coming to a conclusion. But when you are in the question and you be and live the question, you are open to the infinite possibilities of the universe. When you ask a question and don't try to answer it, you are employing the quantum entanglements of the universe to bring to you possibilities that you never even considered. Because, we can only imagine what we know, within those confines of what we know. But the universe has infinite possibilities, and it's being willing to ask a question and to be aware of what shows up and to follow that energy and what is light. What is light for you is true for you.
Yeah, I teach that same principle in getting in tune to be able to perceive and read for people. And it's true for ourselves as well. But, to let go of, I always say, let go of your ego and your intellect, like let go of your preconceived ideas and get in that very still space. And at that point, your awareness opens up. And as an observer, you can see, hear, feel, and know.
Well, in Access, we say the mind is a terrible thing. You should waste it.
I like that. That's awesome.
Once you can get free of the mind, you are free.
Yeah.
Truly,
Yeah.
receive.
What was your first class level, or like first memory of your participation when you just started the program? What were some of the things that stood out to you or seemed particularly intriguing to you? I know the whole thing is, but
my first experience with it, what like I said, I've always been a seeker, and I was seeking for more, and I knew that there was more, and I was asking questions before I really knew about access consciousness. And I had that moment in my life where like my whole life was like, and it really did explode. Like my home and family life, my relationship, my business partnership. I had a family member that was dying. I was taking care of. I'm the holistic, and she was, the pharmaceutical. And it was just like every
hard to watch
aspect of my life.
Yes.
And I actually suffered post-traumatic stress disorder. And it was because my world just exploded in like 5 minutes. And it was, things were just running around like, wild monkeys in my mind and playing over and over and over again. And a girlfriend actually from Atlanta, a new friend that came into my life at that time, and we would chat on the phone a lot. And I remember like, and she was like, Julie, can I ask you a question? And I was like, sure. And she was like, so everything that is, would you be willing to destroy and uncreate that? And I was like, what? Okay. And when you destroy something, you have constructs built up around everything. And when you destroy it, you break apart those constructs. And when you create something, you put energy into something. So when you're uncreating, you're taking energy out of it. And I was like, yes, I would. And she was like, times a godzillion? And I'm like, a godzillion? I'm like, that's a really big number. She's like, yeah, only God knows it. And I was like, okay, that sounds great. And she said this clearing statement, which is a magic wand that we have in Access Consciousness. And it's short speak for a very long thing, but it kind of like is pressing the Control-Alt-Delete button on your computer. And it goes, good, bad, right, wrong, POC, POD, all 9, shorts, boys, and beyonds. If you'd like to know more about that, you can check out theclearingstatement.com. But what it is, it's like all of the considerations and points of views that you have about what is good and what is bad and what is right and what is wrong. POC is the point of creation. We always talk about let's get to the root of things. Well, what about where that seed was planted? That And the point of destruction is like where that started to destroy you, like where it started to destruct what's true for you. So we use that a lot in bringing up energies and access consciousness and, everything that is. And we say that, the crazy phase, good, bad, right, wrong, POC, POC, all 9, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And she did that for me. And I was like, she's like, you don't even have to know like what I just said, just say it. And I was like, okay. And I wrote it down and I used it a couple of times for the next few days. And I remember the moment that I was walking down my hallway and it was like space and peace in my world. And all of that insanity that was running around in my mind was gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow. How amazing is that? And I hadn't even had a bars session yet.
Right.
The clearing statement. And again, is that if you'd like to know more about it, it really goes into explanation on theclearingstatement.com. So.
Yeah. And so, what is a bars session like for someone who's taking that as a healing process for their life?
Well, first of all, the bars really are the foundation of access consciousness. And there are 32 points of energy that run in and around your head, and they hold all of the electromagnetic components, all of that electrical charge of your thoughts, feelings, emotions, attitudes, judgments, points of views, and everybody else's crap that you pick up on. Because, we are big radio waves and we just are picking up on everybody else's stuff and buying it as our own, or even all of the things that have been projected upon us by our family, by our relationships, by society. There's so much that we take on as our own. So the bars is simply a gentle process of touch that runs energy through those points, and it polarizes that electrical charge. And put simply, it is like deleting old files off of your mental computer that no longer serve you. And it truly gives you the space of you and what's true for you, and all those, you know, little wild monkeys running around, and even like, you know, a lot of pains in our bodies, you know, everything is energy, and things get locked in our bodies. And it's, even though we're, you know, doing processes on the mind, it unlocks everything within your body. And one thing that's really amazing too about it is every time that you receive a bar session, 350,000 people are unlocked as well. It's that butterfly effect, because we are all connected. So it's
Yes, and our light makes a difference, and if we're able to shine more freely. Yeah. Have you ever had a Reiki session, or do you know anything about Reiki?
you know, I've had I have girlfriends that have done Reiki on me.
How would you compare the experience, like not just the experience, but and I'm not touting Reiki as the end all and be all. There are a lot of energy healing modalities that are just amazing, besides Reiki, and I just was curious, just for the listeners, because that's the most, seems like the most talked about modality recently, that's an energy healing modality. How would you compare either technique or
I would say like the main difference between them, I mean, they are completely different
yes,
modalities.
they are. Yeah.
But the main, as from what I understand, Reiki is more of putting energy into the body,
Mm.
whereas with Access, we are removing limitations.
Removing energy. Yeah. Yeah.
And more space rather than.
Yeah. In terms of the physical thing, are you like, do your hands hover over the person, or do you physically touch points on the
Actually touch
the
on
brain?
the head.
Yeah, that would be a difference also. Yeah.
And it starts with, we do an energy pull on your third eye and pull from the bottom of your feet all the way up. And then there's points on your feet where we pull from the top of your head down. And then we connect our hands so that it kind of just gets your energy flowing. And then there are points of, well, there's an implant band that we run all the time. And that's just like all of the things that have been implanted into you. And just kind of delete. I mean, sometimes when I run implant bands on people, I just hear delete.
Mm-hmm.
Like that no longer serves you. And there's money, control, awareness, creativity, creating connections, creating life forms, form and structure, hopes and dreams, healing, sadness, joy, body, sexuality, kindness, peace and calm, time and space, communication. Those are just some of the bars that we.
Yeah, that's all aspects of being, you know.
And a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to forget everything. I don't want to lose everything. And you don't. You just,
Not
it's
what it
all
is.
of that stuff that's no longer serving you.
Right. When you were talking about the implant thing, you were touching back here. I know this area is a very, some people call it the king of the body. I know in massage therapy, they address that, you know, area right there on the back of the neck.
You know, and it's just putting your fingers right behind your ears. And when you move your fingers back, you'll find a little indent where your fingertips slip right in so comfortably. And everyone's bars.
Yeah, right there. Yeah.
And you can just, you know, do that yourself. Like if you're feeling a little wonky or would like to move some energy, just turn the implant band. And I always say it's kind of like Beetlejuice. You know, you say it 3 times and it'll, like, if you don't think you can find that space, that you can just say the point 3 times and your fingers will go right to it and it'll activate.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So in your first class, what's your memory? Like, what's the anything that pops out from your first actual class when you said, hell yeah, I'm going to do this, you know?
Well, you know, I want to say my first bar session was amazing. Like, I had post-traumatic stress disorder, and I had gone, you know, like, I really don't do doctors, but I was like, okay, something, like, I thought I had a brain tumor, like, and I had like these electric headaches, and it was dependent on who I was with and what conversations I was having. And it was just,
So
and
sensitive to energy, and you had gotten overloaded by meeting the needs of someone that was resistant to your
and
energy.
everything, my business, my family, you know, however. But, and of course they just wanted to give me, you know, happy pills. Like, and I was like, look, I gave that doctor a good talking to. But I was like, I am not depressed. Like something is, you know, imbalanced in me. And, you know, long story short, I remember after my first session, I truly like surrendered and gave in because I trusted my friend, you know, and she's like, I think you need a bar session. And I was like, sure, I'm yours.
Yeah.
I actually slept through the night, like I was out, and I woke up the next morning, and it was like a veil had been lifted from me, and it was like in the fall, and the back of her condo had a little stream with like all the leaves falling, and it was like everything was so bright and crisp and beautiful, and there was like space in my world. It was like a whole new world for me.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah,
And
it's transformative. It is.
and you know, we have a song in Access, and it's like, welcome to the world, we've been waiting for you. And that's truly what it felt like. It was like, hi, I'm here, thank you.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And so like, wow, it was amazing.
That's really incredible, you know, and to feel that you're not alone and that there are positive, benevolent beings and energies that are here to help us. That's so beautiful.
So that was my first session, and the first class, my favorite, most memory, and this will actually probably answer another question that you have, is you know, it's an 8-hour day, and you actually will partner up, and you'll receive 2 sessions, and you will gift 2 sessions, and then you watch videos and learn all about it and everything, and then you are a bars practitioner, and you can, you know, gift sessions and receive. And when I got home that day, I have a little girl. She's 10 years old now. At the time, she was 4. And I walked in, and she was like, Mommy, will you run my bars? And I was like, what is she talking? She's like, yeah, will you run my bars? And I was like,
wow.
Okay. And I did. And then afterwards, she was like, okay, Mommy, I'm going to run your bars now.
Wow.
And I was like, what did I unlock in our world, and what did I create for us, that she was so aware and to ask and to want to know more. And she's actually qualifies to be a bars facilitator right now. She's taken the classes.
And how old is she now?
She's 10.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I'm so lucky because, you know, I call us bars babes. I'm like, I have my own, you know, live-in bars girl. Like I can always, you know, manipulate her into.
What a fantastic for you as mom and daughter to share that aspect of life with each other.
And it really, like, you know,
beautiful.
Yeah, and it does, you know, like there's so, I mean, we are so connected, and it does like, and I'm aware of like when I really do give her choice. Like even though she's 10 years old, it's her life, and it is her choice, you know, of what she would like to be and do with her life. And sometimes, you know, I catch myself being that controlling mom or like, ugh. And, you know, and so doing the bar sessions really like, it destroys and uncreates our relationship every day and gives us a new space.
And lets you see her and her to see you. That's so beautiful.
And I also run my mom's bars a lot as well, which she is amazing. Yeah, and it's just, you know,
that's a great gift to be able to give her and for you to be able to work on her. That, you know, that maternal bond and paternal bond is so important to each of us, and again, to share that is just really special. That's really special.
And you know, and even when you're gifting a session, it's oftentimes you receive more than the person that you're gifting.
Oh yes, I agree with that. I often say that my clients are my best teachers, because until they ask the question, it can't flow through me to answer it. I might even not know that that question exists, but when it's asked, there comes the answer, you know. And there is so much more to us. How long is a typical bars session?
You know, they can really honestly be anywhere from 30 minutes for a little quickie to, you know, the average session is generally an hour to an hour and a half with maybe some facilitation before and after. And I mean, like the other day I did a bar session on my mom, and I always ask, like, if there was anything that you could receive from this session, what would it be? And she's been having like a pain in her foot and her knee and her back. And we only had like a little bit of time. And I was like, okay, I'm going to set the intention that we're doing 30 minutes and we will both receive more than we thought possible in this 30 minutes. And she was like, even a couple hours later, she's like, I don't hurt anymore. My foot doesn't hurt. My knee doesn't hurt. She's like, thank you. You know,
so beautiful. It's amazing what we can accomplish when we step outside of time and space. I was teaching channeling yesterday, and it was our closing class. And I thought we would end it with accessing the Akashic records. And within 15 minutes on the physical time clock, all of the students traveled through all those layers, went into the Akashic records, observed, brought things back, and had things to share. You know, it's amazing what can be accomplished in 15 or 30 minutes.
Time and space really don't exist. You know?
It's like, well, it does when we're only thinking in the mundane world, but it doesn't if you access that part of your being. Absolutely. Oh, how cool. Tell me a story, another story of a client maybe that you worked on. You don't, of course, know personal details, but just the general story of something that stands out and you're like, yeah.
You know, I've had some really amazing sessions, but one of the teams that I'm on that I'm so grateful that I get to be a part of is there's a team of us that go to Maryland to the Walter Reed Memorial Hospital. And we offer sessions for the wounded warriors, for active duty, for veterans. And I've been able, you know, to go up there several times now. And we only do 20-minute sessions. You know, they're short sessions, but it's just an introduction. And we take, you know, self-assessments of before and after the session, and working on getting grants so that we can, you know, offer them more. And the last time that I was there was a sergeant there, and she was like, oh, one of my soldiers really needs one of these sessions. She's like, he is an amazing soldier, but he is just right now. And he happened to be in that building that day. Like any other day, he wouldn't have been there. And she was calling him, and he was like, you know, he was not having it. And she was fretting for like the next couple of hours. I mean, that was like in the morning, and then mid-afternoon, she was still kind of hanging out around us, trying to manipulate him into coming in some ways. Like, he's supposed to be bringing me paperwork. And, you know, and then I was even like, well, would you be willing to receive the session for him? You know, it'll still affect him. She's like, no, I want him. And so I'd had a space between, you know, sessions, and I was sitting there in the chair. I was sitting at my chair, and I just connected with his energy. And I was like, hello, soldier. How are you? And he was very, I mean, it was like, okay. I said, well, I'm the invitation for you to have more, you know, and I just telepathically communicated with him. And Tracey, 5 minutes later, this big, burly soldier came around the corner, and I knew that was him. And his sergeant was like, oh, he's here. And I happened to be the only one with a chair open. And you know, we do sessions on massage tables, or I prefer the gravity chair, zero gravity chair, because
okay.
yeah, like they're really comfortable, because it's like that lawn chair that tilts back.
Yes, I've seen them. Yeah.
So comfortable on your body, and you're really just floating. So he sat down. He's like, "Are you sure that chair is going to fit me?" And I was like, "I've got you. I've got your back." And he's like, "So what do I have to do? I just have to lay there and look at the ceiling?" I was like, "You just sit down, my friend, and close your eyes and log off." I was like, "I've got your back." And he sat down, and I tilted him back. And, and I always put my hands on their shoulders before a session just to connect with them. And I asked him, I said, "Will you please drop your barriers?" And you can imagine, these soldiers that are,
on guard. Yes.
and
taught to be so for years and years and years, and would have perhaps passed if they didn't keep that vigilance. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, my tiny little hands on this big, huge soldier. And I asked him to drop his barriers, and he just melted underneath. And I was like, and the session was only 20 minutes. And within less than 5 minutes, he was he was
just relaxed into it. Yeah.
Relaxed. And all of my, cohorts were like looking at me like, "Oh my gosh." And it was amazing to know that I could be that contribution to him.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And when the session was done, I set him up, and he, did his, after the session, self-assessment. And, he was like, gosh, I wish I could remember exactly what he said, because it was just, but he was like, "I feel so much different," was the gist.
That's a big statement from someone who is so skeptical to begin with.
And, and sometimes some of the people that are the most skeptical are the ones that have that instant, I remember a girl that I was talking to about, she's like, "I think you're crazy." She's like, "I don't know what you're talking about, and I think you're crazy, but I'll try it." The moment my fingers touched her, tears were streaming down her face.
I think it's true sometimes with readings as well, like shifting my chair up here, because I think people want it so much, but they're afraid to believe that there actually might be a connection or a solution or some different thing for them. And all people know truth when they feel it. And yeah, I love that. I mean, and some people are like, "Oh, I don't even know why I'm crying. I don't feel sad." And I'm like, because your body knows, your body can feel it too.
And that truly is what access.
That's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. What happened with her? Like, how did that rest of the session? Obviously it went well, but tell me a little bit more about that session. Like,
It was, it was a great session. There wasn't really a whole, I think it was just that moment that she, and she's still in skeptics, and she's still kind of, in this reality, but I know that.
And she knows that at one level of her being too, that brings up a thought that I had, like probably people take series of sessions or not. Like, is it a one-time good deal and all of the points are addressed, or is it something where you move through a sequence of things?
Once you have your bars run, they will continue to, run. But the more sessions that you have and the more frequency that you have, the better, especially if you are really, seeking for more and wanting to change your life and wanting to create more. I personally have my bars run a minimum of once a week, if not more. And the sessions are really like, the one thing I love about using the zero gravity chair is like, I can do bars sessions anywhere. I can do them. I do have a space that I do them at. I can do them in my living room. I can do them in your living room.
Mhm.
I've done them on the beach. I've done them in the park. I've done them on a construction site. I had a friend that was like really frazzled, and I was like, would you like a bar session? He's like, yeah, but I'm framing out this house right now, and I was like, that's fine, I'll be right there. And I literally popped my chair up at the construction site. He kicked off his boots, he leaned back for an hour, and he logged off, and we created a whole new world for him.
Yeah. I know, just because our listeners might be like, well, where does she live? Where are you based generally? I know you teach in remote locations, but where are you generally based?
I'm generally based in Madison County, Virginia, which is north of Charlottesville. But honestly, I am absolutely available to, come anywhere that anyone
Yes.
is interested. And what I recommend for people that are interested is to maybe, get a group of people together and to host me for an evening, and we could do an intro to bars class or an intro to access class. So there's several other classes that I facilitate as well.
Sure. You said there's several in the tier of gaining proficiency and deepening your ability there too. Yeah.
But that's what I would recommend for anyone that's truly interested is, to get in touch with me, and let's do if you'd like to do a session, or if you'd like to get a group of people together, and then we could, really.
Oh yeah, that's always best. Yeah. Just to make it feasible for you as the teacher to be able to come to them. That's a wonderful thing. Let's see, what was I going to ask you? Oh, do you have something, maybe I always like some practical stuff that is possible when so my guests can learn something about whatever we're talking about. Do you have maybe an exercise or something that you could share with our guests? And
Absolutely. And I do want to remind you that I have given the tools of the implant band that you can actually, that's something that you can do on yourself, and just to kind of
oh, great.
get familiar with that. And please do, look up theclearingstatement.com to get familiar with that. And then to be in the question.
Woo. Yes.
Two favorite questions are, what else is possible? And how does it get better than this? And, and it's truly like, let me tell you, I am willing to ask that question 500 times a day if I have to, or 5,000 times a day if I have to, if I really want to change something.
Break it down and tell us what you mean exactly by be in the question, if you will. I mean, I sense,
Right.
and I'm sure most of our listeners do, but just break it on down for us.
Well, really being in the question is just being willing to ask that question and
then step back.
stay in that space. And the what else is possible is like, even when something is like really great and amazing, well, what else is possible? Like, oh my gosh, actually this goes the other part, but well, what else is possible? And how does it get better than this?
Yeah.
And when things are really crappy, well, what else is possible? And how does it get better than this? Or if you are creating your life and you don't know what's next and you don't know which way to go, well, what else is possible? And if something does change and something does shift, what else is possible now? And what else is possible now? And, like, I'm always asking that. Or how does it get better than this? Same difference.
Because it always can.
And do you know how many people say, doesn't get better than this? I'm like, you just shut off your infinite possibilities to something. I'm like, is that all?
Better to just say, this is amazing.
And how does it get better than this? And it's, when things are great, how does it get better than this? And when things are crappy, how does it get better? you know?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm actually really thinking about tattooing that on my wrist.
Oh, that would be so special. And that would be interesting because people could see it and then go, what's that? And then you could explain to them. Great
Yeah.
marketing tool. Plus, it's personal to you, you know? Yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool.
Those two questions, I mean, really, what else is possible and how does it get better?
Yeah, yeah.
And,
Oh,
yeah.
go ahead. I was just listening.
And we do have a mantra in Access Consciousness.
Hmm.
And it is, all of life comes to me with joy, ease, and glory. And saying that 10 times in the morning and 10 times at night can truly create a different space. And that's all of life. That's not just the great stuff. It's the good, the bad, the ugly. You know, all of
Right.
life comes to me with ease. Doesn't mean that it's easy, but it's going to be easeful.
It's like that flow
Right.
that we don't have to put up a resistance to the good things that come to us, that we're allowing them.
Wow. I mean, it's just like, you know, over the weekend I was working on my basement and I was looking at this project. I mean, I was like painting the walls and redoing the floor, you know, refinishing the cement floors, and it was so many processes and steps.
Kind of slightly overwhelming at first, yes.
And I was like, all of life comes to me with joys and glory. And at the end of the day, I was like, holy crap, I finished that. And it was ease. Like, it just done. It was like,
Yeah. I like that. I really like that. And also, like with affirmations like that, or mantras, I like the term mantra. It's really interesting because sometimes we don't feel it when we first say it,
yeah,
you know, and then just saying it kind of like opens up the possibility that maybe it's something, maybe it's a thing, you know, and then saying it again. And then it's like it opens all those pieces of your life where you're like, oh, well, maybe that light could shine in here, and maybe that light could shine in here. And then the more you do it, the more it resonates completely with you, to where you say it with authenticity and knowledge too, because once you use something like that to bring good things into your life, then you realize, yes, I can do this. You know, I was saying the other day, what was it about? I know what it was. Yeah, I was in a situation where I could have sort of been miserly or small in a situation, and I made the decision not to. And it wasn't with people; it was a totally different thing. But I told myself, you know, I trust in my prosperity. And it wasn't just a mantra or a affirmation or, you know, whatever. It became that for me, because since then I've been using it. But it was like that epiphany moment where I realized, you know what, I actually do trust in my prosperity, you know, and that's a big change for me because of the years of financial challenge that I went through and emotional hurdles. And I'm sure our lives had some similar notes to them. And yeah, saying something with that. So say it again slowly for people that are listening, because I know some people heard it and then heard the discussion and then like, what was it again? Tell them again.
all of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. And glory is the exuberance of life. You know, it's that exuberant living.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going back to Jesus, that phrase popped into my mind, and I don't know why I'm talking about Jesus today, but for sure it's just in my head. You know, I came to give you life, and I came to give you that more abundantly, and that more abundantly. And that is a joyous way of living. That's not a hard way of living. That's not a shut down and no possibility way of living. It's abundant, unlimited, extraordinary.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, many, many thanks for you coming on the show today. Is there anything else you wanted to like throw on the pile? Or are we good? How are you feeling? What would you say to people?
Yeah, I would also like to say, now you can check me out on the website.
Yeah, and that again was accessconsciousness.com/Julie Lohr, Lohr.
Yes, correct. And if you'd like to reach out and find me on Facebook, that's generally where I play.
Yes, me too, me too. High five, sister. We're friends already.
I actually run one of my businesses on Facebook. It's quite amazing.
It is. It's a wonderful platform. I've heard it's actually the second internet. And people have asked, well, I can't go on there. It's so negative. Da, da, da. Well, just block that or don't follow or whatever. But there's so much substance on there, and it's such a versatile platform. I agree. Yeah.
And I was going to say my access page is Julie Lohr CFMW. So if you'd like to connect with me there.
On Facebook? So facebook.com, say it again.
Julie Lohr CFMW.
CFMW for certifiable effing miracle worker. CFMW. That's awesome.
And what invitation can I be to access consciousness in Virginia and beyond? There are some great classes, like I said, to facilitate an intro to bars, a bars practitioner class, like a day training. And also there's a taste of out of the box. Like, is it time to get your head out of the sand? Get out of the box.
Nice.
I facilitate a class of how much are you willing to receive? And that is based on the book, Money Isn't the Problem, You Are.
Ooh, touching on some good stuff.
If you have a money problem, you have a receiving problem. So what are you not willing to receive?
That's wise. That's wise.
Really
wise.
And any subjects that anyone would really like to touch on, I can facilitate those classes as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what does the typical client come to you for? Or I'm sure the sessions are different, even if the process is similar, because you were talking about your mom's foot, knee, and whatever. What kinds of, why would someone choose to come to you as for a bars session, maybe to try it out and see how it is? Obviously, if they're interested in your teaching, they know what they want. But what are some of the different things that people approach you for your session?
I would say, if there's just like a lot going on in the world and they're processing a lot, and would like to create more space. Depression, it's, the bars are great for depression. Aches and body pains, there really are all kinds of different, just really, if you'd like to
reaching your
create more
potential would be one of them too, because we do create our own blockages. And we think, oh, somebody's put a curse on me, or people have bad thoughts, or I'll never amount to anything because my family never amounted to anything, or it's never been done before, or people have all the negative rationales for that. And it sounds like that would be beneficial for anyone that's wanting to live a more free, liberated, happy life,
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's helping you to get rid of those limitations, those limiting thought beliefs, depression, that, like if you are really asking for more and want to create more, or if you'd like to take your life to another level. So yeah.
Very cool. Julie, it's been an extreme pleasure to have you on the show. I really appreciate your being with us today. And if you want to meet her, find her again, it's accessconsciousness.com/Julie Lohr. And we'll look forward to a chance to rendezvous with you down the line here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me again. How did I get so lucky? It's
Aw.
one of my favorite questions. How did I get so lucky?
That's a very positive and open-ended one because it just draws more of the same. Yeah,
absolutely.
Very cool. Well, thanks again, Julie. And for our listeners, remember it's never inappropriate to be kind. And without integrity, you have nothing. See you next week.